This morning on BRN, do pensions help retain state workers? Joining me now to discuss this is Mariana Trujillo. She's a policy analyst with the Reason Foundation. Mariana, great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great work. And I think it's, there has been an evolution and transition for the last 40 years, just in general in the private sector, away from pensions to the 401k. You did some research on Alaska, which let me get you just to clarify. Alaska moved away from its pension to a 401k type program. Is that correct?
That's right. Similar. It's a defined contribution plan for public employees, which has some guardrails. But it's a similar mechanism where you have your individual account and you have your contributions and your employer contributions, and that gets invested in your, you have the flexibility to carry that with you and do whatever you want with it. So it's a 401k with guardrails, I would say.
Yeah, it's similar, but all the investment risk tends to be on the individual as opposed to the state. And there's a whole that's a whole separate show as to why they may consider going from a pension to a defined contribution type plan. But I think you actually did some research on whether or not, there's always the concern when you move from pension to 401k that you're going to have difficulty retaining workers. That doesn't seem to be the case from the research, at least the research that I read. Do you have any more detail on that?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of research nationwide on, the public sector specifically, which is what I deal with, and defined contribution, defined benefit plans, and the impact on recruitment and retention. And most of it, almost all of it, has pointed to employers not really being very responsive to what kind of retirement benefit you get, especially if you give a comparable defined contribution plan, that doesn't have any impact on recruitment retention capabilities. And that was what I found in Alaska, where it shifted to a defined contribution plan in 2006. And for the past few years, there has been a few calls, legislators and activists wondering if perhaps it is time to return to the defined benefit plan that Alaska had before. The plan that led, that was closed due to many fiscal challenges that it posed to the state, because Alaska was allegedly, facing a lot of trouble keeping and retaining its public employees. So I, was able to gather some data and really evaluate this concern, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Alaska's turnover rate in 2022 was very much in line with many other states that offer defined contribution and defined benefit plans. Actually, it was significantly lower than the national average for state and local employees, at 18%, and the average in 2022 was about 20% turnover. In Texas, it was 23, and Utah it was 28, and Kansas it was 23 as well. And there are other states that have lower turnover rates, but in general, Alaska was actually on a lower end, which is very surprising. Very surprising. I did not expect that at all, because nationally, the state of Alaska has the labor market with highest turnover in the country. In 2022, the state of Alaska, public and private sector employers had a combined turnover rate of 78%.
Wow.
That's the highest in the country. And
Yeah.
part of it is, yes, because this economy of Alaska is cyclical. It's, driven by resource extraction and tourism. But another big part is that the state, it has it's logistically challenging to live in Alaska. And it is, the state is facing net out migration. So there are a lot of internal dynamics going on that make it a challenging labor market. So even with all of that in mind, to find that Alaska is actually on the lower end nationally for public employee turnover was very surprising, and does not indicate any, recruitment and retention challenges, from what we have seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's very surprising. I was looking at the numbers that you just stated because I have I have your report in front of me. So, I mean, that does surprise me. Do you think that maybe some of that is due to the fact that, the world is, the expectations of people have changed? Many of us, myself included, have grown up only knowing a defined contribution plan. And now people have many jobs. They don't just stay, unfortunately, in the past, they stayed in government for a career. So do you think maybe some of this, some of the retention stats have something to do with just the changing expectations or beliefs in some of the, I'm just saying in general, not necessarily just Alaska, but across the country, people are just like, hey, this is a job I might have for 5 years, and maybe a job I have for 10 years. But either way, my expectation is I'm going to move from job to job. Just wondering what your thoughts on that are.
Absolutely. And I think, it isn't just a cultural matter, but I think it's one of the cultural things that are driven by economics. And, it's just the transaction costs necessary to find a new job are so much lower, right? Like I can apply an interview for a job on my phone. On my commute to a different job, I can apply, for, to work in a different state from Indeed, right? On my phone, on LinkedIn. I can interview without leaving my house, right? Like, this all like lowering the costs of searching and acquiring a new job or hiring people have led it to be a lot easier, and because it's easier and cheaper you're going to do more of it, right? That's basic economics. So people have been switching jobs more often, and there's a general expectation that you can, and because of the defined contribution plans have become so prevalent in the private sector, employees know that they can have an adequate retirement by funding their retirement regardless of what employer they have. So there's definitely, that expectation. And I think I also believe that just the general retirement conversation has, become more data informed. I think before there was a big, almost some survivor bias of trying to make retirement adequate to only those that stay long enough with you. And you might not realize that which most people that you hire won't, retire with you as an employer, right? You hire people, they stay for 4, 5, 6 years, they leave, they go do a different job. And that has been true today, but also, for a long time. But I believe I actually think that for a long time we haven't really been looking at the people that that come and leave a certain position and neglected their retirement security. And now that it has become defined contributions are in a flexible and mobile plans that and they're more normalized now. I think we have come to realize that the people that work for you for a few years matter as well. Not and you should provide a part of their compensation can be retirement benefits, and not just those that stay and with you for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, just curious. You mentioned Indeed and some of the other services. Does the retirement benefit still is that still a priority for workers? I mean, there's so many other types of benefits: healthcare, long-term care. Many Americans now are caregivers to their loved ones. So is it and as you stated, retirement is so different today because we live longer. It's now no longer 65 in a rocking chair with your grandkids. It's now 75, 85. People can work longer. So does that retirement benefit, is that still a high priority among job seekers? Just anecdotally, you don't have to give me the exact, I'm not expecting you to have the exact numbers, but I'm just saying anecdotally, is it still up there at the top in terms of expectations for new job seekers?
If you look at entry and exit surveys, if you interview people the second that they accept a job offer, and that's an entry survey, like, why do you want to work here? What attracted you to this position? And I'm saying specifically for public employees, which is what my research focuses on, retirement benefits are very low in those rankings. Whether you look at young employees or just the general pool of employees, like new people you hire, they say, why do you want to work here? They often say, well, I need a job, right? I need a salary. That's why I want to
Yeah.
work here. That shows up in the surveys. But also because, many people join private sector because, and that shows up in the rankings, very highly meaning. They want a job that is meaningful. They want job security. And that's a big reason why people want to join the public sector as well. They want good culture. They want benefits, and then somewhat among like after mentioning many other things, including an ability to work remotely, flexibility, vacation time, somewhere in there retirement benefits show up.
Yeah.
So it's certainly results indicated is not a big priority, and the same is for exit surveys. If you interview people when they leave a job, and again I'm referencing public sector surveys, and ask, why are you leaving? Why are you not happy? Salary is that, again, number one thing that shows up, and then other benefits I just mentioned: flexibility, work remotely, vacation time, just bad leadership. I don't like my boss, or I don't like the culture here. I wasn't promoted enough. And then somewhere in there, after all these things, retirement benefits show up as another meaningful thing. So it's not a priority. And you can see that just by going on LinkedIn and Indeed yourself. And you'll see that when you read the job descriptions, they often mention salary or just some broad, idea that, we compensate people well. They mention benefits in general. And then they mention, many things, culture. And often job postings don't give you many details, if no detail at all, about retirement benefits that company offers, and definitely not about just the nitty gritty, right? Is it a defined benefit, defined contribution plan? What is the multiplier? All these details are not in job descriptions because really that's not what people are looking for when they're looking, deciding if they want to apply to a position or not. It's not a priority.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to watch Alaska. Will they revert, not revert? Will they bring back the DB, the pension plan? I guess we're going to have to find out. Mariana, we're going to have to leave it there. Great research. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you so much.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Polls, for all the news in one place. Details, of course, at our website. And your subscription helps support all this great BRN content. And we're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.